Okay, so finding genuine calm in today's world, it feels less like a life hack and more like, I don't know, a desperate quest sometimes, doesn't it? You're looking for something reliable to just quiet the noise inside. And today, we're really diving deep into how two powerful practices, yoga and mindfulness, work together.
It's a really transformative area, and the sources we've got today, they offer this amazing synthesis. We've dug into the history, the actual techniques you can use, and importantly, the solid scientific evidence behind blending mindful movement with, being aware in the present moment. Our mission here is basically to distill how doing both gives you a real pathway to better self-awareness and resilience.
Excellent. Because I think we all think we know mindfulness, but it often feels a bit fuzzy. The sources go deeper. For this deep dive, what's the core definition of presence we should hold on to?
At its heart, it's this basic human ability we all have. It's about holding a kind of neutral awareness of what's happening right now, your senses, thoughts, emotions, without getting totally swept away by them. It's simply noticing what is. And, crucially, accepting that reality in the moment without slapping a judgment on it immediately.
Okay. And then there's yoga. We definitely need to move past just thinking it's about, tying yourself in knots.
Absolutely. The word yoga, its Sanskrit root, actually means to unite. So the practice is about finding that union between mind, body, and spirit. It's about moving towards a more direct, experiential reality.
Right. So if mindfulness is about accepting the present moment,
Yeah.
and yoga is about uniting yourself towards that reality,
Yeah.
the connection must be pretty fundamental.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, if you look at traditional yoga philosophy, particularly Patanjali's 8 limbs, mindfulness is already baked in. The physical postures, the asana, which is what most people think of as yoga, that's actually only the 3rd limb.
Only the 3rd. Wow.
Yeah, it comes after the ethical guidelines, the yamas and niyamas, things like non-harming and self-discipline, and before things like breath control, pranayama, and meditation, dhyana.
That completely reframes it. The movement isn't the goal, it's part of the preparation.
Precisely. So the core common thread here is that both practices are fundamentally about cultivating this non-judgmental awareness, being fully present with whatever is happening right now.
They really are complementary paths to finding more stability and, health.
Exactly.
Okay, so if the philosophy points towards presence, let's get practical. How do we actually do this? How do we make movement a form of meditation?
Well, the transformation really starts with anchoring the mind. And in mindful yoga, your main anchor is the breath. You're consciously, intentionally synchronizing your breath with your actions. Every movement becomes deliberate.
And the sources highlight 3 really crucial steps for building this awareness. First up is setting an intention.
Right, because if you just jump into it without purpose, your mind's going to run wild, like it usually does. So starting each practice by setting a clear intention, maybe something simple like, I will listen to my body, or I will stay with my breath. It gives you focus, a gentle reminder to come back to.
Okay, second point, managing the distractions.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, the mind will wander.
Oh, absolutely. That's sort of the main event, isn't it? When your mind gets pulled into worrying about the future, replaying the past, the practice is to just notice those thoughts, like watching clouds drift by. You see them, but you don't have to jump on board. The key is recognizing the thought, acknowledging it without getting tangled in the story, and then gently guiding your focus back, usually back to the breath or the physical sensations. It takes patience, definitely not perfection.
That sounds straightforward, but when I'm actually feeling stressed, just telling myself, observe the thought or breathe can sometimes feel like another thing I'm failing at. Does that make sense? Do the sources talk about handling that self-criticism?
They absolutely do. And it connects directly to the 3rd technique, mindful movement with self-compassion. This is crucial. You have to slow down, move intentionally, pay really close attention to how your muscles engage, where your weight is shifting. You have to honor your body's limits in that moment. If a pose feels painful, you adjust, you back off. That act of listening to your body is the practice of acceptance. You're showing compassion to your physical self, and that naturally extends to being more compassionate towards your busy mind, too.
Okay, the connection is key. Let's dive a bit deeper into that anchor you mentioned.
Yeah.
Pranayama, breath control. Why is breath so central? It's more than just oxygen, right?
Much more. Traditionally, the breath is seen as the carrier of prana, this vital life force energy. But connecting it to modern science, what you're really doing is learning to consciously regulate your vagus nerve.
Ah, the vagus nerve, okay.
Yes. When you practiced deep, slow, controlled breathing, like breathing into your diaphragm, you're stimulating the longest cranial nerve in your body.
So it's not just a mental trick. You're sending a direct physical signal up to your brain.
Exactly right. Slowing your breath signals to your central nervous system via the vagus nerve that you're safe. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. This directly counteracts the stress response, that fight or flight mode. It lowers cortisol levels.
Yeah.
You're literally shifting your physiological state from reaction to regulation.
Wow. That vagus nerve piece makes the ancient practice feel incredibly relevant right now. Okay, let's bridge this to the body. We set the mental stage. What about specific poses that help cultivate this presence?
Yeah, we can think about them in terms of their function. Let's start with poses for grounding, for introspection. Child's pose, balasana, is probably the ultimate restorative posture.
Where you curl up, forehead towards the floor.
Exactly. It's a physical posture of turning inward, releasing the weight of the world for a moment. It's very soothing for the nervous system. And a great mindfulness tip here is to really focus on the feeling of your breath expanding across your back ribs. That physical feedback is a great anchor.
Makes sense. Then there's mountain pose, Tadasana. It looks so simple, just standing there. But it's fundamental for body awareness, isn't it?
It really is. It's the art of finding stability in stillness. You're not just standing. You're actively rooting your feet, feeling that subtle lift through the core, noticing the tiny adjustments your body makes to stay balanced. It teaches your mind what grounded and centered feels like, even when you're upright.
Okay, grounding covered. What about flow, the more dynamic side?
Well, the classic example is the sun salutation sequence. It's like a moving meditation or a prayer in motion. The key is that conscious linking of breath to each posture. The rhythm itself becomes the focus, warming up the body and settling the mind.
And for something maybe a bit simpler, focusing purely on that mind-body link through coordination.
Cat-cow is perfect for that, just gently arching the spine as you inhale and rounding it as you exhale. It's simple, rhythmic, but it requires you to pay attention and coordinate breath with movement. A very accessible way to weave awareness into action.
Nice. The source has also mentioned a couple of poses specifically for release, maybe even a bit of joy.
Yes. Happy baby pose is wonderfully playful. You're lying on your back, holding your feet.
Looks a bit silly, feels amazing though.
Exactly. It deeply stretches the hips and spine, encourages relaxation. It's hard to be too serious in happy baby. It prompts release. And then there's thread the needle. A gentle twist opens the shoulders. It invites this quiet focus as you, thread your awareness through your body.
This all sounds incredibly beneficial. The descriptions are great, but we did promise data. Does this synergy of yoga and mindfulness actually translate into measurable results for resilience, stress, that kind of thing?
Oh, definitely. The general benefits are well documented. Better flexibility, strength, balance, posture, even boost cardiovascular health. Mentally, we see stress reduction, improved focus, better emotional regulation, more self-compassion. But let's zoom in on this really interesting clinical trial they did. It involved healthcare workers, HCWs, a group dealing with intense chronic stress.
Right, a perfect test case. So what happened when they combined yoga and mindfulness in a course for these HCWs?
The results were significant. They measured overall quality of life using something called the mental composite score. And they saw a statistically significant improvement. Their scores went from a median of 43.5 before the course to 48.1 after. In clinical terms, that's a substantial shift, moving from generally struggling to actively coping much better.
That's huge for just overall well-being. What about the day-to-day emotional load they carry? The negative feelings?
That improved dramatically too. They measured negative affect feelings like anger, fear, feeling overwhelmed or weak. That score drops significantly, from a median of 16 down to 10 after the intervention. It shows a real, lasting improvement in managing those tough emotions.
Okay, impressive. And what about anxiety? Was it just a temporary fix during the course, or did it change their baseline stress?
Both, actually. They looked at two types of anxiety. State anxiety, which is anxiety about a specific event or situation, dropped sharply right after the sessions. Immediate relief. But maybe more importantly, trait anxiety, which is more like anxiety as a personality characteristic. Your general tendency to be anxious showed a significant reduction that lasted for weeks even after the course finished.
Wow.
Yeah. It suggests this combination isn't just a temporary bandage. It seems to actually help restructure the way they regulate fear and stress long term.
So, pulling it all together, what this data really confirms is that combining these practices isn't just nice, it's a powerful, holistic approach for mental well-being. You're quite literally strengthening your capacity to handle stress by improving both physical awareness and mental clarity.
Exactly. You're building internal stability that isn't dependent on external circumstances.
Mm.
By weaving together breath, movement, and that non-judgmental awareness, you cultivate a kind of inner resource. It lets you choose your response more often instead of just automatically reacting.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, remember we've explored this potent union of mind and body, the science behind breath and the vagus nerve for calm, and the solid proof showing real benefits for stress and anxiety.
And maybe a final reminder. Consistency really is the key. Even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes a day, it makes a difference. And perhaps the biggest ongoing practice is cultivating that kindness, that non-judgment towards your own busy mind when it inevitably wanders. It's not about silencing thoughts, but changing your relationship to them.
Right. And building on that, here's a final thought for you to maybe explore. If yoga is about uniting body, mind, and spirit, and mindfulness is about returning without judgment to this moment, consider that maybe the real practice lies in the transitions. Intentionally slowing down the moment between yoga poses or even between tasks in your day. Could consciously bridging those small moments of potential chaos be the key to a deeper, more lasting sense of wholeness?